It is a Sunday night. We're back talking a lot more baseball. All coming up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. New promo, though, Jeff. I was not expecting that. That was quick. Hey, happy Sunday evening. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always on Sunday nights by Jeff Erickson. I don't know why we planned the two blue shirts here, but apparently we're matching tonight. But
one purple, obviously, but oh well.
Obviously, yeah. If you could please rate and review the podcast, we greatly appreciate that. Jeff, it's I'm going to call it the halfway point. We're a little past the halfway point in baseball, but it's time to get going here. How are you?
Doing all right. I'm actually pretty good. Doing all right, even though my main event team totally sucks, and I'm bad at fantasy baseball apparently again, at least in that league. I'm doing well. Watched a lot of baseball today. Watched a lot of baseball all weekend long. So yeah, it was good. We had a full slate on the 4th of July, and that's the way it should be. So there is that. Yeah, all in all, pretty good.
Yeah, when you have 4th of July on a Friday, it tends to help the slate. But it was a good slate. It was a good weekend of baseball. Toronto Blue Jays, probably the story of baseball right now. 8 straight wins, 3-game lead in the East. They swept the Yankees to take the lead. Crazy. Toronto's red hot right now. They are balling.
Yeah, they are. They really are. And, the funny thing about them is they're balling, yet it's always a narrow, they won by 1 again today, for instance. Their run differential, they've won not 8 in a row. They're 14 games over 500. They're plus 12 in run differential. So they are doing all these little things. One of the things that they're doing, I was digging into them a little bit, is they just don't strike out. In the last 30 days, I think it's like a 16% strikeout rate. So they just extend innings. I feel like they force teams to make plays, all that sort of stuff.
8 straight wins. One of them is by more than 3 runs, and they swept the Angels all in 1-run games this weekend. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And swept the big thing was the 4-game sweep over the Yankees. Massive, just massive. And of course, the Yankees losing Clarke Schmidt is just a gut punch for anyone that had Clarke Schmidt, for the Yankees, all that.
Yeah, Yankees finally won today. They beat the Mets. They lost, I think, 6 in a row before that. They're really struggling. They're tied with the Rays right now. Both of them 3 games back of the Jays. We've got a very clear 3-team race here. Red Sox are kind of on the outskirts, but both these teams, both the Rays and the Jays, look like they're here to stay against the Yankees. It's now this AL East is not going to be a walkover at all.
No, not at all. It's teams are going to get hot streaks. I mean, the Rays had a crazy hot streak earlier. To get in the position they are at. They kind of ran into some trouble in Minnesota, won today at least. The Yankees obviously have been very mercurial lately. And they had to get to that hot streak to be able to withstand this cold streak right now. Same thing with the Mets also.
Yeah, I saw a stat as of yesterday, the Rockies and White Sox had more wins in the last 2 weeks than the Mets and Yankees combined. It was kind of a funny stat, but it's interesting. I mean, we talk about hot teams. You got teams on their side. I just realized that Cleveland's lost 10 in a row. They are really struggling right now. They are 15.5 or something like that behind Detroit. Got swept by Detroit this weekend. Got swept by the Cubs. Got swept by the Cardinals. Cleveland's a mess right now. They're behind Minnesota and Kansas City. 15.5 behind Detroit. Detroit is a 13.5 game lead. We joked last week about, oh my gosh, Detroit's a 9-game lead. It's now 13.5. They are killing everybody in that division.
They are. And I think the other teams in the division are kind of killing themselves too. You look at what, this weekend, it was 7-2, but it was an extra inning game. And Class A blew the save, actually.
It was 0-0 through these through 6 or 7 too. It was Scooble and Gavin Williams were dealing.
Yes, they were. Cleveland scored 3 runs in the series. And that pretty much fits what's happening with the Guardians right now.
Some of the Pirates are raising their hands. They can't believe how many runs the Guardians scored over the weekend.
I know, right? 312 runs on the season, though. And they're just everything that we thought about Cleveland the last couple of years going into seasons, it came to fruition this year. This is a terrible lineup. I don't see how they're going to score any runs. Okay, finally, they're not scoring any runs. And last year was the ballpark changes. Okay, maybe that's sustainable. Nah, not really.
You go outside of Quan and Jose Ramirez, and there's pretty much nobody else there that you're like, oh, this guy's up. I'm going to either flip the TV on, or I'm scared of him if you're watching it as an opponent. Literally nobody else in the lineup you're remotely worried about. No,
exactly. And, we were hoping Big Christmas was going to be a thing. It was not. Instead, they were the Grinch that stole Christmas. Jackenzie Noel we're talking about there. They trade away Jimenez, and it's not even like Jimenez is any good. He had one hot stretch at the start of the season with the Jays. He's been hurt twice now. He's on the IL again right now. But all the replacements have failed. They the fact that like a guy like Rocchio never really developed at shortstop. Arias is hurt right now, and he had his moments, hard hit rate moments earlier, but he was cooling down even before that.
Yeah, Manzardo had those moments earlier. Now you look up and his OBP is 289, slugging 429. Just not. He has 13 home runs, but just has not been really good the last like 2 months.
Exactly.
So it's the time of year, Jeff. We're in the almost middle season. All-Star break is next after this week. So we got one more week of regular season games and the All-Star break. It's the time of year where you got to look at your team. You got to figure out how you're going to make up points, what you're going to do, and with that comes. What do you do with these struggling guys? Because, who you took in the 7th round is pretty much irrelevant now. There's guys I wanted to ask you about how you think about them in terms of going forward, whether you think they're, leave them in your lineup, bench them, drop them. The first one is Marcell Ozuna. He is off a brutal month. I know he's in a 15-teamer. You probably just got to suck it up. The guy had 40 home runs the last 2 years, 40 and 39. But what about a 12-teamer? He's hitting 238 right now. Strikeout rate's 23%. Not an issue there. It's actually down from last year. Walk rate's way up. Babip's 290, so lower than last year, but not super low. But it's just he has 1 home run the last month. What do you do with Marcell Ozuna right now? Because he's in a 12-teamer. He's clogging up your utility spot. You've got other guys you want to play. It's hard to bench someone like this because you worry about that 4 home run week or that sort of thing. But what are you doing with Marcell Ozuna?
Invent a time machine. Go back in time. Take Kyle Schwarber instead.
That's a good answer right there because that's a massive difference right there.
Yeah, and the thing is, there was the 3 DHs, right? There was Schwarber, there was Rooker, and there was Ozuna. Mm-hmm. And I did not choose on Schwarber. I was like, oh, I'm worried about the batting average. Yeah, okay. No one told me to do it. I'm blaming myself. But it was really I think that there's some things that could turn around.
Although you took Rooker, and he's been really good too.
He's been pretty good. Not as good as Schwarber. But
273 with 18 home runs halfway through the year.
I gues he's better than I'm giving him credit because he's on
pretty darn good.
One of my teams I have him, he's really kind of crappy, but yeah. And you get outfield eligibility with Rooker now, where you're never going to get that with Ozuna.
I mean, Schwarber's got 27 home runs, so he's got more, but they are both smoking Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah, they are, and. The fact that the Braves were willing to live through the Alex Verdugo experience while Profar was suspended, and not play Ozuna in the outfield ever, so maybe you get a better bat from somewhere else. Nope, just not happening. Just not happening. They just wouldn't do it. That's
a good point in the chat. Schwarber does have a few stolen bases too, which adds to his funness there. He's
crushing lefties too. Take a look at the splits. He's destroying lefties this year.
He's got 8 stolen bases, which is a huge edge. You're right. He's hit 289 against lefties and 229 against righties.
Yep.
Both those are gonna move towards the middle a little bit more, but he can hit lefties. That's a great sign. But we're talking about Ozuna. I mean, the Braves lost Schwellenbach this week for pretty much the year. I know there's the thoughts he can come back. Chris Sale's on the 60-day IL. Both those guys are out 2 months at a dead minimum. They have lost 8 of 10. Got swept over the weekend. They are now 11 games under 500, 13 and a half behind the Phillies, 12 behind the Mets, like way behind 2 teams in the division. Is this Braves team's totally done right
now? Yeah, I think so. The thing is, for the longest time, you were getting plus money to bet them to not make the playoffs.
I remember that. We talked about that. I think I said I'd still better make the playoffs, and boy, that was a bad call.
Yeah, well, I was flapping my mouth on VSiN about that one there. It's I have to bring it up because it's something I got right. So, but they just lost Schwellenbach. That's just such a brutal thing. Sales now on the 60-day IL.
Awful.
There's no reason to rush them back, and
that's my thing, right? Because both of them are out 2 months, but there's probably going to be no reason to bring them back. I think both of them are drops, and I actually dropped both of them in leagues this weekend, which was.
Just so much pain.
Hitting drop on Chris Sale after what he did, like his 8 to 10 starts before the injury is tough. And Schwellenbach's been so good. And dropping those guys just kills a team. But I think you got to do it. I think they're both drops. Best case they pitch in September for a team that doesn't need anything. And there's no reason they push those guys.
I think if you're willing to drop Pablo Lopez earlier, you have to be willing to drop these two.
I actually think they're both more obvious drops than Lopez was. And I dropped Lopez as well, and I thought he was a drop, but I think these guys are pretty much slam dunk drops.
Agreed. Circling back to your question, Ozuna, I need to ask you, would you drop Ozuna in a 12?
I would not as of yet, but he's kind of on the watch list. It's just so hard. because that 15 home run second half could be there. You just hate to drop that. You drop that in the league, and that's a killer. But
right
now, I think I'm just kind of starting him for a little bit, and then maybe another couple weeks and see where we're at. But I tend to maybe play guys like that too long. I think it's a weakness of mine, just because I'm kind of waiting for that hot streak. But look at Marcus Semien. There were people after 6 weeks that wanted to cut him and thought he was done. Been really good the last 6 weeks. So it's. I think I'm definitely holding and playing in a 15. I'm holding and maybe platooning or, depending on who I have. I think I'm probably playing half weeks with Ozuna right now in a 12.
Yep. I think that sounds about right.
On the same note, a guy who was dropped in one of my 12 teamers tonight. What are you doing? What are you doing with Michael Harris II? We've talked about him a bunch. It is not coming around. 161 over the last month, 212 on the year. He has 19 runs scored and 6 RBI. He is as bad a pick as you can get for where he was drafted for someone who's been healthy for the most part.
Kind of reminds me of when Javi Baez turned bad.
Oh.
Similar sort of not great approach at the plate where, he could get away with it for a while until he couldn't. Now, obviously Baez has had a second act, and that's what you're hoping for, but it took years. Right. Although that's not true. I mean, he's kind of ridden the roller coaster. He's been up and down. Even with the Cubs, he had some up and down times.
Yeah.
So,
and he always had those huge strikeout numbers. Harris doesn't really do that, but Harris is under 3% walk rate. So he and Baez are definitely.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
He's in swing mode all the time.
Some of the chat said, would you drop Dodgers Max Muncy? My answer to that real quickly is an absolute yes. I would. He's out 6 weeks minimum. I drop in Max Muncy too. Harris is tough. We talked about him a few times, and you drafted him in the end of the second round, the middle of the third round. It's so hard to do, but man, it's just he's hitting ninth a bunch. This lineup is not as good as we thought it was going to be. Hard contact rate is down 7.5%, 8%. Barrel rate's down. His OBP right now is 236. Like that's an unplayable Major League Baseball player right there.
Right. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. You're killing the team with it.
Yeah, 236 is like that is just brutal.
I saw a comment from Billy Hayes saying Harris is taking the Cedric Mullins career path. He should be so lucky.
Yeah.
Mullins isn't that bad. I mean, it's just been that awful.
I just looked among qualified hitters. He has the worst OBP in all of baseball by a full 18 points.
And you look at again, not to just kind of beat this dead horse. I mean, come on, Secretariat's dead already, but I think Barbaro is dead. That was the Deadspin joke, right?
Yeah, that was a brutal one.
Yeah. I think that, it's just, you look at the bottom third of that Braves lineup and it's just nothing at all. I mean, Nick Allen is a fine defensive shortstop. Michael Harris is a fine defensive center fielder. You're not scoring runs though, period. Nope. Doesn't matter.
And we've talked about Albies and how bad it's been there too. I mean, they just have so many dead spots. Olsen's been really good. Acuna's been awesome. He came back, but and Riley's coming along a little bit. He homered this week, but you're right. You get the second half of that lineup. They got Profar back, which helps, but you go Baldwin, Ozuna, Albies, Harris, Allen, and you just get nothing from those guys. Baldwin's okay for a catcher, but that was bottom half of Albies, and Harris.
Yeah.
But Ozuna, Albies, and Harris, who you expected a lot from, you're getting nothing out of.
Yeah, Albies is also just massive disappointment. I did just trade for Austin Riley in a league. And I kind of figure he's had similar like big second halves before. I traded away Jordan Lawler, actually. It's a keeper league. So for Todd Zola. So it was a pretty interesting trade there. But Riley is also on a slow advancing contract. We have a couple different contract structures in this league. It's the XFL league that we do at First Pitch Arizona. So I lost Max Muncy, had to get a third baseman, swung from the fences, went for Riley.
Yeah, the Muncy one sucked. He's been so good since he got the glasses or the eyesight stuff changed. He's been awesome for the last 6 weeks. And sounded like I thought he tore his ACL when it first happened, and the Dodgers broadcast wouldn't show the replay, so I thought it was even grosser than it was. I watched the replay and it didn't seem that bad, but obviously a deep bronchos in your knee is going to really hurt. But I thought it was going to be like who was the guy that Tim Crumry in the Super Bowl? I thought it was going to be like a Tim Crumry kind of injury because the Dodgers refused to show it. It was so weird. They were like, it felt like a Theismann kind of thing. I was like, what? And then he just got hit in the knee. I mean, it was awful, but he got hit in the knee hard. It wasn't like a breaking bone sort of thing.
Yeah, you don't usually see that in baseball. That's for sure.
You do not. So sticking in the NL East, a guy that I think maybe is a little bit more leaning towards an outright drop than the Ozuna question. Mark Vientos in New York, someone that was I'll just call him a 7th, 8th, 9th round pick in 15 team, somewhere in there, but a top 125, top 150 pick. Has been horrendous. He did have the injury, but he's been horrendous horrendous before. Has not done much as he came back. Obviously, hasn't been back that long, but hit 214, 6 home runs, 21 RBIs. This is someone that last year had 27 bombs, 111 games. Looked like he had finally arrived. We liked him last year. Barrel rate's almost cut in half. Hard hit rate's still pretty good. Striker rate's actually down a little bit, but he's just doing nothing. He's starting to sit too, which is the real problem in New York. I don't think it's crazy that he gets sent down, although Starling Marte got hurt today. Jesse Winker's coming back. And I was trying to figure out who's going to go down. Could be Jankowski, could be Mauricio, could be Vientos, but Starling Marte got hurt late tonight. Got hurt taking a pitch, Jeff. It was quite the scene. It was he hurt his knee taking a pitch, not swinging. It was really interesting.
Shades of Luis Robert in the home run derby there.
That's right. I forgot about Luis Robert in the home run derby.
Mark Vientos, since coming off the IL, 0.87. On base, 0.87. Slug, 0.87.
How many bouts is that ballpark? Like 30, something like that?
Yeah, 9 Ks, 0 walks since coming back. I think he needs to get Alvarez, and I think it needs to be stat, and it will hurt me because I have Vientos in lots of places, but he's not playing every day, like you said.
I was going to say, playing him probably hurts you more than him going down to the minors, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a bad. I mean, Alvarez, it makes me think they're going to do it with Vientos. They did with Alvarez. He has 4 home runs already in the minors. I actually picked up Alvarez in a couple of leagues today. Just I think that after this week, after the All-Star break, he comes back up. And, Luis Torrens is not doing anything for them right now. So I think they're going to bring him back up. But Vientos is tough. I held him in my main event, but he was the next guy I was going to drop. If I drop somebody, I think I'm going to try one more week. If he gets sent down or has another bad week, I think he becomes a drop pretty quick. And, if he comes back up and hits 12 home runs in the last 6 or 7 weeks, it sucks, but he's doing nothing right now, and in your lineup it's even worse.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I actually would almost like them to just let Ronny Mauricio play and not worry about the other guys, because I think I'd like to see a run with that, but it hasn't happened. Oh, someone just said that in the chat. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Steven, who frequently makes smart comments in there.
Yeah, I'd like them to just let Mauricio play a little bit. He kind of comes in and out of the lineup. I'd like to see him just play a little bit and see what we got.
They like Beatty, but also keep in mind both Beatty and Mauricio are kind of in the second base picture too. So it's kind of interesting as far as that goes. Sometimes McNeil plays the outfield, sometimes he plays second. Dude, he's even playing some center field. McNeil is. How does that make you feel? Makes me feel pretty good. He made a really good play at second base today, so I'm good with him making good plays at second base. But outfield, we know it's a little sketchy. But the problem is they kind of have DHs. They have, I guess, Marte DHs. Winker should probably DH. If they keep up Vientos and Mauricio, I just don't know who plays the outfield. I guess Tyrone Taylor plays a bunch. Yeah. Soto, Nimmo, and Jankowski, they keep him up, and then Winker plays the item. It's kind of a tough one. I think they're going to send Vientos down here at some point. I think he's got about a week leash, and then he's going to go down. Do you think the Mets trade for a hitter at the deadline? It's a good question. I think they do. Yeah, I think they would be. They're probably one hitter away right now, I imagine. Yeah, and they're a division where Phillies are playing well. Phillies are tough. I think they need one more hitter. I would like to see them try to. We talked about this a little bit already. I think try to go out and knock on the Minnesota Twins' door and see, hey, you got this Byron Buxton. What can we do to get this Byron Buxton on our team today? Wow. What is Buxton signed? What's his contract situation? So, a couple things. He is signed. He signed a long-term deal, if I'm not mistaken. He did 7 years, $100 million, and he signed through 2028, but only makes about $15 million a year. Yeah, that's not. That's. I mean, in real world, yeah, but in baseball world, that's a pretty workable contract. Yeah, it's just that we're getting better health this year from Buxton we've ever had. He had the concussion because he and Correa had to collide. It's we talked about that. It was destiny. Yes, it really was. But he's stolen 15 bases too. Hasn't been caught. I mean, I think the Twins should at least see what they can get. At least should be taking calls. They're selling the team. They're obviously not going to make the playoffs this year. Total disappointment of a team. But they have a bad ownership situation. So at least try to set yourself up for some other future run. I mean, I get it. Maybe their only path to having a great team is Buxton staying healthy, playing great defense, blah, blah, blah. But the Mets have like 6 guys in James Anderson's top 100, 7 actually, because they have one exactly at 100. They have a productive farm system. They would be a good trade partner if those guys are at all available there. So I just think
it's a really interesting idea, because trading someone like that's really hard from a real world baseball who's playing so well. But you're right, man. You could. It's like a fantasy league. You're trading him as absolute peak value. Was he 20 home runs, 16 stolen bases, and healthy for a full half, playing the outfield as well. There were times in the past where he DH'd a bunch. It's a really good call. I think that a smart management team probably makes that move. It probably piss off some fans and Twins fans, but talk about selling at the perfect moment.
I think so. I think they should at least explore it. Maybe they don't get what they wanted, and then okay, move on. We'll hold them. It's not the worst thing in the world, but at least you have options.
That third AL wildcard spot's going to be pretty wide open. I wonder how many teams will kind of hang in there for that. You've got 6 teams within 5.5 games of that: the Royals, Twins, Angels, Rangers, Red Sox, and Mariners. And none of those teams I just listed anybody's really scared of. So you just think that Rays and Yankees and whoever else, whoever wins the East plus the Rays and Yankees or Jays, those 3 probably get in. But that third spot, I mean, that's 6 teams that I'm only going to be scared of, but one of them's going to have to get in.
Yeah, I think so. I think the wild. Yeah, we need to see some more separation. I think we've already seen like the Braves separate themselves out. Maybe the Braves are sellers at the deadline. First time it'd be in a long time for them.
They made the playoffs every year since 2017. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think, and they've won almost every division too. They've won like all but one, I think, in the last 5 or 6 years. So, yeah, but I think you can do a quick reboot in your case of the Braves, because they've had all these pitcher injuries this year. Maybe they have some parts they could flip. I don't know. I think it'd be something they should at least consider too.
Should the A's trade Brent Rooker?
Has that been rumored?
I don't know, but he's 30 years old. Second great year in a row. Signed for.
They just signed him though, right?
Yeah, he signed for 4 more years. He signed through 2029 on a really good contract, 5 years, $60 million, because he bought out some arbitration years in there, and there's a lot of that. But you talk about selling high. I mean, that's another guy that if you're not winning the next couple of years, it's a perfect time to sell high on someone like that.
It is. And who knows where they'll be playing. I saw some. I know there was some quote unquote groundbreaking in Vegas.
Did you see the clip of that groundbreaking?
Oh, it was a total farce.
Them digging into like fake dirt on a table. It wasn't even dirt. It was so
weird.
It's
because they put some sort of tent over it, but then
so weird.
Oh, it gets better though. That equipment you saw in the background, all rented, not part of the construction. They did do some actual groundbreaking elsewhere, but
okay. And they've torn down whatever was on the plot. So they.
Oh yeah, that was the trop.
But the financing's not done yet either. So I
not even close to being done.
Yeah.
Not even close to being done.
That groundbreaking was such a weird ceremony. They do everything really weird, but who knows?
Yeah, there was these kids in the front row. He was like shaking their hands or fake high-fiving. It was just so like, okay, this is so obvious that this is such a farce.
And if you're making you're trying to figure out some fantasy lines right now, what are you doing right now with Jac Caglione? Obviously, it's been a really rough start. He's hitting 152 with 2 home runs and the 2 home runs were in the same game. So it's been a really rough start. 28 games, not striking out though. He's at 22.5%. He had 2 strikeouts today, so went up a little bit. Not walking, but it's a young guy. He's walked in the minors. That should come up a little bit. Hard contact's only 41%. Barrel's only 8.5%. Are you still a full hold here? Are you thinking about dropping into 12, or I'm a full hold? But I was curious what you thought.
Hold but bench maybe.
All right.
I can see not playing him, especially if there are any lefties coming up in a given week or something like that. Because I mean, I do get it that you might miss out on the breakout. I think this isn't quite the same degree as Kurtz struggling initially and then him ultimately getting it, but he doesn't strike out.
Yeah.
He just hits so many damn ground balls. That's the thing I hate about Cags right now. But I think this is something that as long as the Royals are giving him that wide latitude, I think he figures it out.
So if in a half week setup, would you bench him with the 2 lefties or Bailey Falter and Andrew Heaney? Because that's what it is this week.
I would start Heaney. Especially against the Royals, who have just not a good offensive team. I might bench Cags for that situation there. I mean, what's the likelihood that you're going to regret it?
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what you have also.
And on the flip side, like if he hits a couple home runs, I think I'm feeling pretty good about then playing him for a while too. I think you want to see him get him going, whether it's in your lineup or not. Getting him going is really important. For him.
Exactly.
On the same note, Parker Meadows a drop. I didn't have him on the list here, but someone in the chat mentioned him. I actually, I think I dropped him in the league. If not, I put him in the drop thing. I don't know if I got the player, but Parker Meadows has been bad since he came back. 205, 2 home runs, 2 steals, 27% K rate. Hard hit rate's 27.5%. He's hitting nothing hard, striking out a lot. That's a really bad combo.
Tigers hitting prospects are kind of like Orioles hitting prospects, it seems like.
Except for the one I'm about to ask you about.
Well, yeah. Well, he even started a little slower. But,
he did.
Just maybe it takes a while. Maybe, I don't know. I didn't get Meadows this year anywhere. So
he missed a lot of time too. So it's I get maybe it's knocking the rust off, but that's a tough bat in your lineup right now in a fantasy league.
It is. It really is. And especially because so many times he bats like 8th or 9th too.
Yeah, he's hitting down at the bottom and he sits against lefties sometimes too. It's I think he's dropping fantasy leagues right now. He might end up turning it around. I like the player long term, but I don't think he's usable right now. I think it dropped for me for sure in 12s and maybe even in 15s.
Okay.
His teammate Riley Greene though, is he the third? Is he third in the AL MVP race right now behind the 2 obvious ones?
Yeah. Best player on the best team. Right.
Hard to go wrong with that, right?
Yeah. I guess I got to pull up the betting odds now that you asked that though, because
I think he was like 6th or 7th. I was just saying behind Judge and Cal Raleigh, I think he's kind of number 3 in the AL, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that, I got to think that he's probably, I'm trying to think who are the others that are there, and it's just not coming to me as far as it goes.
Junior Caminero. The answer probably is Tarek Skubal is probably the 3rd MVP right now, but usually they don't do pitchers. But I mean, I think there's nobody else. It's Judge, it's Raleigh, and then it's kind of an open abyss of anybody. And I think it's Riley Greene. I mean, 21 home runs, 69 RBI, or no, he had to hit a home run day, so 22 and 71. He strikes out a ton, so you got to worry the batting average is going to have a problem at some point. But so Skubal's probably 3rd, but maybe Green's 4th.
Yeah,
it's right in there. I mean, Skubal's been
best position player on the best team. Skubal, is ridiculous. So I could see him getting those 3rd place votes over Greene.
But I just searched like top 20 RBI just to see kind of who the big names were, and they're all national leaguers.
Yeah,
it's Raleigh and Judge and Greene, and then Taylor Ward's the only other one in the top 19.
Wow,
in the American League, it's all National League guys.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's so counter to way, because for so long AL was the DH league and the NL was not. So you always look for AL RBI leaders all the time. But yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, you got if you look at Bobby Witt is probably the next up there, but he still only has 11 homers. Jose Ramirez only has 39 RBI. But he's probably next right there, 14 and 22, hit 300. He's having a really good year too. But
what do you think about maybe Vlad getting some helium if he starts hitting a little bit more power in the second half with the Jays playing so well?
Yeah, he could definitely be one now. But right now he's got 12 homers, so that's not going to happen. He's 1244, but he's hitting 280. Yeah, if he got a real hot streak, he could probably slide into 3rd. I think the top 2 is pretty much locked in unless someone gets hurt.
By the way, a little bit of love for George Springer. He is having an
God, is he on fire right now?
Yeah. Talk about a guy, once you have a skill, you own it sort of type of guy. That's Springer.
355, 8 homers, 29 RBIs in the last month.
Yeah.
Pretty solid right there. Guy we've talked about a bunch, but I wanted to talk about real quick before we jump into some other stuff. Oneil Cruz is a impossible guy to figure out. Worst batting average in baseball since May 1st, 181. Even worse lately, 154 in the last month. But 15 home runs, 28 stolen bases, 47 runs scored, but he's hitting 206. How do we value this guy next year? He hits everything hard. 22% barrel rate is crazy, but strikes out a ton, walks to a good amount. So he's a hard guy to figure out right now. It's just he's elite in some stuff and just totally horrendous in other spots.
Yeah, and he still hasn't grown up. It's pretty crazy that just like a little over a week ago, he got benched for not running out a double play ball. I think we talked about it a little bit, but his excuse is he forgot how many outs there were or something like that. That doesn't, either you're lazy and you were dogging it, or you're not paying attention. Either way, that's not acceptable. I mean, come on, we're past that now. You're not a rookie.
Yeah, it's weird. It just keeps getting worse. He just strikes out so much. And then you see him like today. He threw out a guy from the outfield. He throws at 105.2 miles an hour, which is just crazy. Some of the chat mentioned if there have been catchers to win MVP. There's definitely been a bunch. Johnny Bench won. Buster Posey won recently, right?
I don't think Piazza won one though. Did he?
Yogi Berra definitely won. Yeah, there's probably been. I'm looking right now. There's been 18 catchers to win, and that might count Berra and Roy Campbell 3 times each. But only 2 since the 2000s, Joe Mauer and Buster Posey.
That's pretty crazy that Piazza never won one. Pudge
Paul
Rodriguez
Sport,
did.
Yeah, that was 90. That was 99. So I was going since 2000. Yeah, he's since 99, only 2 have won, Mauer and Posey.
Bench's last MVP was 1972. I thought he would have won one a little later in his career, but nope. He won in 70 and 72. Munson in 76. The internet's great. You can just find MLB MVP catchers. Boom, done. A lot of
here dropping Ernie Lombardi. I know Paul was not alive when Ernie Lombardi won the MVP.
No, he's definitely younger than me, and I think you maybe you.
Paul is definitely younger than both of us. Yes.
Yeah. Yogi Berra, of course, won 3 of them. Campanella won 3 of them.
Yeah.
But not too many recently. That's for sure. It's hard.
It is.
I'd love to see it. I don't think it'll happen, but I'd love to see it.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's just because Judge is so damn good. But if those are the top 2 with a runaway right now, though. But let's get into this week. I think it's week 16 in the majors. But first, a quick note from the NFFC. The NFFC RotoWire Fantasy Football Online Championship is now live. I've seen many a draft board, so I can tell you it's definitely live. Play fantasy football against your favorite RotoWire experts on NFFC this football season. Jeff Erickson, Nick Whalen, and many more will compete in the RotoWire NFFC Online Championship for a shot at $250,000. Sign up for a draft today at rotowire.com/high stakes. That's rotowire.com/high stakes. So, Jeff, real quick, looking at week 16 here, the last full week before the All-Star break. 7 gamers. We have a bunch in the American League: the Rays, Red Sox, and Guardians, White Sox, Angels, and Rangers. So you got 2 Central, 2 East, and 2 West teams there. The NL, we got our Reds have 7 games this week, all at home, Jeff, and they get 4 against Miami and 3 against Colorado. If the Reds don't score runs this week, they're never going to score, because that is an incredible setup in Great American Ballpark in the summer too. Reds, Marlins, D-backs, and Padres in the NL. A quick aside on that with the Heat, I think the ball traveled crazy this weekend. I saw 3 or 4 opposite field home runs. I was like, oh, it's a fly ball, and like 4, 6, 8 rows deep in the stands. I think this warm weather is going to be a lot of runs scored over the next month here. So
I think so too. It's about damn time. So I'm all for it. Give me more happy fun ball. You know my stance on that. I want Coors Field to be on the surface of the moon. Let's go.
That ball, there was a couple of Coors Field too. Lenine Sosa had one that I thought he got jammed off the handle and it went out to right center.
I remember that one.
If Edgar Cuero hits a home run in Coors, the ball's flying well, because he hadn't hit one yet, and that was his first homer. But there's a couple. The Cody Clemens home run that killed me, because Taj Bradley came out up 5-1 with 2 outs in the 6th, and the Rays didn't get out of the inning without giving up the lead. But Cody Clemens hit one to left, and I was like, oh, good. Whoever the pitcher was, I think it was Kelly, got out of the inning, and then all of a sudden it was gone.
Kevin Kelly, and he didn't get an out. It was so annoying.
So bad.
There's something, it's so frustrating. Like, oh, you got to yank that pitcher, and the guy that comes in is worse. That happened like 3 or 4 times this week.
I know. We can't just let Taj finish that 6th and see what happens. Couldn't have been worse.
Yeah. I'm acutely aware of that. I have Taj in my AL only home league. Not getting that win was a killer.
Hayden Birdsong got through 5 here, Jeff. Only 5 walks. But only 1 run.
JFB, just F barely. Look at the walks again today.
5 of them were not good, but 1 run over 5 and a 5-1 lead. You got to like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. So it's some nice schedules this week, though. There are some really nice schedules. The Reds have 7 home games I mentioned, 4 against Miami, 3 against Colorado. The A's are home in Sacramento for 6, 3 against Atlanta, 3 against Toronto. So some especially good setups for those teams coming in to visit them. The Marlins have a good setup. They are 4 at Cincy, 3 at Baltimore. Really good setup for them as well. Red Sox are home for 7. They get Colorado and Tampa Bay. And the Jays have a good setup too. They only play 6, but the Jays have 3 at the White Sox, 3 at the A's. Really good pitching matchups there. There's some teams who score a lot of runs this week.
Yeah. Yeah. The ball's flying more. Not just the Cubs. Not just against Eric Fetty either, but the 4th of July game was insane.
that was Mikolas, right?
Yeah, Mikolas was just
crap.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was that was amazing to watch because called the over in that one and it was hit there in the third inning in that one. That was pretty amazing.
You could see it when he gave up 5 or 6 of himself too. And like the last one he gave up, he just put his head down. Like I can't stop giving up bombs. It was rough.
Miles Mikolas Day is kind of like pretzel day in the office. I love Miles Mikolas Day.
Good office reference right there. I like that one.
Thank you.
Yes, there's a lot of good setups. There should be a lot of runs this week. It's going to be a fun week before we get the All-Star game. But a few news and notes before we jump into FAAB. You mentioned it before. The biggest news of the weekend: Clarke Schmidt likely having Tommy John surgery. Killer if you have him. Killer for the Yankees too. That's Colson Schmidt now out for the year. It's rough in New York and in the pitching staff right now.
Yeah, heel out too. Remember, and that they hit that one in spring training, and he's not coming back anytime soon. But
he's starting to throw, right? I guess
maybe anytime soon. But it's been a really extended absence for him too. Yeah. And who knows what he's going to be like when he comes back? He was already kind of shaky in the second half of the season last year. But it's just a shame because Schmidt was so good this year.
Don't throw Luis Heel name into Twitter. The first thing you get is some quite interesting images. Just a heads up. Yeah, so there's an artist named Luis Heel that takes some photographs of some scantily clad human beings. Heel's. I think he's been throwing BP, live BP. So expect to get to 45, 50 pitches last week. I think it was. But you're right. You're still weeks away.
Yeah.
But some other notes here. Obviously, Schmidt, full drop across the board. Tough week. I mean, people were dropping Chris Sale, Clarke Schmidt, Spencer Schwellenbach. I mean, it's a rough week to lose guys like that. Teoscar Hernandez getting imaging on his left foot after fouling a ball off it on Saturday. I don't think we got an answer if how the imaging came back, did we?
No, I didn't see that yet. No.
So that's definitely one to check out. Anytime you are concerned enough to get some imaging, that's never a good thing right there for the Dodgers. Some good news in New York. We talked about some bad news in New York, but Kodai Senga didn't really pitch well in his rehab start, but he might return this week. It sounds like he's going to play. He's going to pitch against the Royals this weekend. Are you starting him?
Yeah, I am. I think, especially because of the opponent. I think that's like the selling point for me.
Yeah. I want to backtrack 1 second. Teoscar Hernandez's scans did come back clean. He's only dealing with soreness in his left foot, so bullet dodged there, at least for the time being. So if that were the Astros, I would say out 7 months, but it's not yet.
Jeez, especially if it's a hand issue. It's not just the case of Yordan Alvarez. It's Zach DeCenzo too.
Tucker's the foul ball foot right last year, right?
The shin, the shin.
That's right. Yeah.
There's a whole lot of that there. So with them, there's zero trust. Also, the Lance McCullers like half a decade injury there too.
By the way, how awesome was that catch on that play? Did you see that?
I did not.
Line drive off McCullers, hit off his ankle, bounced up in the air.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I read about it, didn't see it.
I think it was Ohtani too, so the ball was coming hard, but it was pretty amazing that the shortstop didn't even think about it, made the play through to first, and it was like, oh, that's an out, by the way.
Yeah.
A quick couple of notes on some IL guys. You mentioned Andres Jimenez, Gary Sanchez, who was raking for the Orioles. By the way, they can't keep a catcher healthy. It's crazy the run catchers they've had gone on the IL. He went on the IL with a sprained right knee. Lane Thomas, also a 10-day IL with some plantar fasciitis. I can promise you plantar fasciitis hurts, not a good time. So I feel for Lane Thomas there. Rhys Hoskins, since I did the outline, went on the IL as well too. He was out multiple days. Now on the IL with a thumb injury, no fracture, but he's got an issue. He'll be out for a while there. They called up old friend Andrew Vaughn there too.
They did. Can the Brewers fix him?
No.
That's a shame. What happened here? How did this go so wrong?
I don't know. It's weird, but it certainly did. It just he never. I mean, always just kind of okay. Like never really made it past okay.
And he got worse than okay this year.
He did. He was really bad this year. I think maybe they could fix it back to a 250, 20 home run guy. I think that's possible, but I don't think they're fixing him into like super valuable in any means.
Right.
People are talking in the chat. Maybe they trade Andrew Vaughn. That could be it too. Maybe someone trades for him as well. But a couple of quick notes. Brendan Lau left early Sunday with some left side soreness. Don't like to see that. Lau's been hitting really well. I think he's got 19 home runs, 20 home runs, something like that. Tyler Freeman, who's also played really well too, missed Sunday with right hamstring soreness. Another one you just got to check the lineups tomorrow. Same with Jazz Chisholm, who missed the game for shoulder soreness. And he's been said his shoulder's been hurting for like 2 or 3 weeks. That's never a good sign.
No, it's not. Not at all. And he played through stuff before, so you kind of you've seen it happen like that before. But yeah, it's really awful.
The A's are doing their big head race right now, and Ricky Henderson's jersey came off, so I don't know what's going on in Sacramento. It seems like it's chaotic there. A couple of Dodgers notes. Tyler Glasnow, Jeff, back in the rotation this week. He's taking the hill likely Friday in San Francisco. Are you? If you got to decide on Monday, you got to decide on starting Glasnow. Are you doing it?
What are the odds he goes 5?
Probably not great. I'm looking to see, where did he go in his last rehab outing?
I don't know, but does that even matter?
He went 4.1 innings and threw 78 pitches last Thursday.
Yeah, I just think that they're going to. It's the Dodger way. They ease people in. I mean, it's possible he's super efficient, gets his 5, but I think there'll be a quick hook, especially with the All-Star break coming after that. They won't be afraid of using a bunch of relievers.
Yeah, I think I'm throwing it. I think I'm throwing it, hoping for 5. I think that in a 15-teamer, I don't have better options. A 12-teamer, maybe I do, but I think I'm throwing it.
That's fair.
I don't think I can stomach not throwing. You waited that long, I think you got to throw it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But also Blake Snell starting a rehab assignment next week. We might get some Blake Snell kind of soon after the All-Star break. He's been out a long time. That's one that I think you had to hold. We talked about that when he got hurt, but it's been a long absence for Blake Snell.
I think I held him in all but one league, and that was a 12 that I needed the spot.
Yeah, I held him in my 12. I had him and Sale. I thought I was going to be set with pitching. Apparently not. Yeah. But I held Snell and I dropped Sale.
Yeah. I just want to introduce one other thing here. The Nats going ahead and firing Rizzo and Dave Martinez. That to me, I saw a couple of things. First of all, I'm not really surprised, but it's also terrible ownership. I'm surprised a little bit at the timing because it's a week before the draft.
I thought your take on that on Twitter was actually correct, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you. So for those who don't follow me, and God forbid, trust me, you're not missing much. But it is my thought is, if you don't trust Rizzo to run your franchise later, why would you want him to do your draft?
Yeah.
Why would you want him to go through your trade deadline? Get the people in that you want to run the team now. Now, it was this. Do you have somebody in mind? Do you have somebody in place? I also think too that GM usually doesn't single-handedly run draft.
They've got 7,000 scouts that are like, they've been talking about this for 6 months since the college and high school season started. But I agree with you. I think if you don't trust them to run your team, you can't have them run that draft. They have the number 1 overall pick. Like, it's a big spot.
Yeah, exactly. And it's probably going to lead to like young players playing more, I would guess. And I think, even more than they already have. And maybe also trades coming up. I don't think they wanted, which is funny because Rizzo is actually good at trades. He nailed the Juan Soto trade.
Yeah. It feels like a million years ago they won the World Series, though.
2019.
Yeah, not that long. It feels like a million years ago.
They're very unfortunate franchise in some ways because they never really got to properly celebrate the World Series win. They chose, like, the thing is, like, even some of the choices they made, you could say, well, they chose the wrong guys to keep. Like they re-signed Strasburg, remember?
Yeah. But boy, did they call it right not signing Rendon.
Well, I was just gonna say they had to choose between Rendon and Strasburg. They chose, the answer was neither, unfortunately. And maybe go get somebody else out.
Hard to know which one of those signings was worse, though.
Patrick Corbin falling apart was just low key another really bad thing that happened to him too, because he was signed long term. I think he signed the long term deal after the World Series. And he was bad every single year after that.
You just look at that team and the names on that team. It's wild how quickly it dissipated.
Yeah.
Soto, Turner, Rendon, Brian Dozier, Howie Kendrick. Like it was a wild, fun little team, and they made a great run though.
Kendrick, he's someone that really deserved that next year. That's because he was pretty much done in baseball a couple years later, so he didn't get a chance there.
Big homer off the foul pole against the Astros, though. We all love that.
Yes, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, that was huge.
Rendon had a 1,003 OPS in the playoffs that year.
He was so good. Good.
I remembered him being good in the playoffs. I didn't remember he was quite that. He was the best. He was the best player on the Nats in the playoffs offensively.
Yep.
Soto was 927. Trey Turner was only 620 OPS in that playoff run.
Yeah, I remember he was like playing hurt, I think, at the
Yeah,
time.
233 with 1 homer. But Rendon was awesome. 15 RBI in 17 games, 36 total bases. Pretty damn good. So, but let's jump into some FAAB talk. It was not a huge FAAB week, so I kind of was talking about some other stuff. But first, a note from our sponsors at Home Run Forecast. Can the weather really help a baseball travel further? We saw it this week. It turns out, yes. The air can affect how far a baseball carries by up to 20%. Home Run Forecast uses real-time weather data to rate each game's conditions for ball flight, assigning each matchup a 1 to 10 score based on how home run friendly the air is. On the premium site, you'll get game-by-game, hour-by-hour index values, 24-hour forecasts, wind direction, roof status, and more, all for less than $6 a month. Check it out at homerunforecast.com and gain a weather edge before first pitch. So, Jeff, let's talk some offense real quick. There was, like I said, it was not a huge FAAB week this week. I think there was not a lot of money spent. One of my main events had a bunch of money spent, but the other one had nobody over $30. But first up was Colson Montgomery. He was called up this week by the White Sox. Made an unbelievable catch. I think it was on Friday in his debut. Unbelievable play at shortstop, going back on a ball. But you look at Montgomery, and the first thing that sticks out is a 33% strikeout rate so far this year in AAA, and we know how that works. Usually it goes up when you get to the majors, and if that goes up, it's pretty much death. But how do you feel about Colson Montgomery coming getting the call up by the White Sox here?
I like that they're doing it. I think that it's time, and we'll see what sort of leash they give him, and just kind of let him do his thing, and deal with the inevitable struggles that are probably coming. But that I agree that the strikeout rate makes me not that enthusiastic in redraft. I think keeper leagues, it's a little different. AL only, I picked him up in a league, but I also lost. I lost Christian Moore, and we have no IL spots in this league. So, yeah, okay. Let's go on to the next. Had to cut more and pick up Montgomery.
Yeah, like you look at last year, he had 18 home runs in 130 games, but he hit 214. I think there's so many ways this could go sideways with Major League hitting. I mean, obviously he made that great play. He had a triple off the wall in Coors. So, I think he'll run into some, but I think it's going to be really rough. I was very far down the bidding on him. I actually got into the single digits, low double digits was as high as I was going. If I needed a shortstop, like there were some spots where I was like, I'll put him in my list, but as I looked more into him, I think he'd be fun to watch, but I didn't want it on my fantasy team.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I can see it. It's a keep him honest bid at best, and even then, keep him like barely honest bid.
The more interesting shortstop this week, and it got a little complicated with the injury news over the weekend, but Ha-Seong Kim came back. First game, he got his they thought he strained his calf, but it turns out they think it's cramps. He ran at 80% today, played catch, took some swings to the batting cage, but it was hard because we didn't know it's not impossible that we flip on RotoWire tomorrow and Kim goes on the IL for 10 days. It's not. We've seen that many times. We see it. I see it all the time with guys that are kind of maybe, and it's hard to count on him. But
yeah, and keep in mind too, if Lau's banged up, that's 2 guys down.
Yeah.
So they have to.
And Caballero sat today because he had sore arm. They had to bring him in when someone, I forget it, when Lau got hurt. So, so they had to bring him in. But Kim was 28% rostered in the main event, mostly because he wasn't drafted in a lot of leagues. This is the first week you could pick him up. What did you do with Kim in terms of finding some bids? Because I thought the injury made it just a little more complicated than it would have been.
I kind of stayed away. I really wasn't that active on him. If it works, it's a nice, and it's I don't put it past the Rays to make it work. And you're certainly looking at stolen bases, but just keep in mind, I don't think Kim's that good of a hitter. I just think maybe he can hit for average and he can run, but there's not a whole lot of power there.
Yeah, never strikes out, which is nice. Kind of gives you a little bit of decent batting average floor. Although last year at 233, but he was 11.22 last year. He was 17.38 the year before that. So yes, stolen bases with a non-zero power, pretty valuable if you can get that at shortstop. But the injury part is tough. He was pretty popular. He was added in 39 main events over the weekend. The high was 96 in my league, so I did notice that one. But most of the bids seem to be kind of in the 20-30 range. I think they would have been 50 to 60, 40 to 50 without the injury, though.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking for steals, this is a place to go. But a steal guy who has a little bit of a calf issue that makes me made me pull back a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of the middle infield, what'd you do with anything you did with Zack Gelof? He was taken in most main events, but available in a lot of 12-teamers. Called back up on the A's now that he's healthy. He was a long injury stint. Playing time should be there, especially because Luis Urias went on the IL.
Yeah.
Hard guy to figure out in Gelof, though. Looked really good in 2023. Looked really, really bad last year. Ton of strikeout issues. I'm not convinced he can hit for average in the majors.
I'm not convinced on him or the other Max Muncy either, for that matter. Who's also a guy that I kept on seeing in bids, kept on seeing it popping up on waiver wires and waiver results. Gelof tonight, 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts to wit. So it's the strikeouts, man. It's just so, and you get some killer hard hit rates sometimes, and that's great. So that's the trade-off.
He didn't even have that last year either. He was 37%. Right. So he struck out 35% of the time. His hard hit rate is 37%. If those numbers are close, you've got a lot of problems. Yeah,
that's right.
But he does run. He had 25 steals last year, as Billy Hayes in the chat points out. He did have 25 steals last year. So there's just definitely a speed power combo. I just think it comes with a almost non-existent batting average floor.
Yeah, that's right.
What about the two power hitters coming back off the IL this week? Jorge Soler and Tyler O'Neill. Tyler O'Neill with the Orioles, Soler with the Angels. Both were about a little between 70 and 90% roster in the main event, but much lower in the 12-teamers. I saw them both available in a lot of my 12-teamers. Do you have a preference between these two guys? I think they're guys that have shown a lot of power in the past, but both have had a lot of injuries so far this year. Do you have a preference between Soler and O'Neill?
I mean, I think I have a tiny preference for Soler, but
I do too.
You know what you're getting. You're probably not going to get a great batting average. You're definitely going for homers. It's a cheap home run play is what it is.
Yeah, and I think even last year he had 250 and 241. So not he's not going to be a good batting average guy, but not a total killer. He doesn't strike out. He strikes out 24%, so not huge, and 36 home runs in 2023. I like that he had two of his 10 hardest hit balls were this week since he came back. Had he had a home run the other night, but I was still there a little bit just because I think O'Neill, every time he moves, you worry about him getting hurt.
Yeah, for sure.
Anybody else you liked on offense week? Like I said, it was kind of slim pickings. There were some middle infielders we talked about. Also, Mauricio Dubon's getting a lot of playing time now with Jeremy Pena hurt. Davis Schneider's getting a lot of playing time with Andres Jimenez hurt. He has a great schedule this week, too, as we mentioned earlier. I kind of like Brooks Baldwin, a guy in Chicago that hits the ball hard. Now he's playing a bunch for the White Sox. But was there anybody else you liked? Because I thought this was one of the more meager hitter fabs all season long.
I agree. Schneider is someone I picked up in XFL. I picked him up earlier in Tout Wars, and I think one other place where I was finding him available. He's playing more now, and he's actually been playing pretty well lately.
Yeah, I like that one too. I think that the playing time just going to be there, and at this time of year, especially this week, you're just looking for some playing time. But I think Brooks Baldwin is the guy. He hits the ball hard, second, short, and outfield eligibility. He was someone that I was trying to add for $2 or $3 wherever I could. So. I like the profile there. A couple of guys who are playing against a lot of righties. Nolan Jones in Cleveland. He gets 4 White Sox righties the second half of the week. The hard hit profile is coming up a little bit. And then in Colorado, Oneil Fernandez is playing against lefties. And I think anytime you see a Colorado hitter, you get interested. But they're on the road all week, so they kind of tempered my bidding there.
Yeah, he is a prospect at least. So there is that. There is a palpable upside.
Yeah, I think so too. I looked at him. He's had 13 home runs already, but Colorado AAA's is obviously a great place to hit. But doesn't strike out a ton, which is nice. He's at 14% this year. He was at 19% last year. So someone I'm watching, especially if they get back into cores, I think that he could be interesting. Dave McDonald in the chat mentioned that Nolan Jones' RBI upside is really low. That's fair. That Guardians lineup has been really rough so far.
Yeah, I've given up on trying to make Nolan Jones happen.
Yeah, I just think it was a streaming second half week play. If you needed someone, the four White Sox righties kind of jumped out to me a little bit.
I wanted to ask you about your former A's. They're current A's, but your former A's.
Yes, you mean the Groundbreakers?
Colby, yeah, exactly, the Groundbreakers. Colby Thomas not in the lineup today against a righty. Don't like seeing that. Denzel Clarke hit a monster home run earlier in the week.
That was a bomb.
Yeah, maybe kind of sort of getting closer to getting it. Great center field defense too. So that gives him, continuous chances to play, but 252 on base.
Yeah. It's been rough. I feel like it's coming around a little bit, but man, the strikeout rate is just so abysmal that I don't think I could do it. The power looks pretty real though. He hit that ball 470 in Sacramento tonight. That ball was crushed.
Yeah.
But yeah, the center field defense is so good, but he has, I'm looking at it right here. He has 4 walks and 50 strikeouts so far.
Is that good?
I mean, that's so bad. It's kind of unbelievable until I looked at it. 3.3% walk rate, 41% strikeout rate is pretty absurd.
Yeah.
Colby Thomas had a really good throw the other night, threw somebody out home. That was a really impressive play, but he's someone that's interesting. He's 24, but you look at his like minor league stuff, and he was 31-15 last year. Like that's a crazy number. While he hit 280 in AAA, and I guess it was AA and AAA last year. He had 17 home runs so far this year. I was mildly interested there. I just don't know how the playing time is going to work out there right now.
I don't either, and that's kind of why I stayed away.
But he seems like he's got some legit power. It's just a matter of if he plays enough. I mean, if Rooker DHs, they've got Soderstrom now in the outfield, Clarke and Lawrence Butler. Colby Thomas is righty, so they could sit Soderstrom against some lefties. That works. But it's just I don't know where the playing time is going to come from. But I think he's mildly. I think he's more interested in me than Denzel Clarke was. Put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Clarke can hit yet in the majors. The 480-foot home run notwithstanding. I didn't like that when they called up Thomas, they said he wasn't going to start. He was going to be a defensive replacement, pinch runner, pinch hitter type. I'm like, why call him up then? I get it. They're crowded. I get, someone's got to sit. It's got to be Clarke that sits then basically.
Yeah. It's just, and it's funny. I thought it was weird last week that Langoliers during his rehab assignment did his rehab assignment into the stadium he plays his major league games in.
That's crazy.
Because they were playing Sacramento.
Yeah.
That week. Yeah.
That makes sense. That's so funny.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Uncle Ted called Yanquiel Fernandez Carlos Gonzalez light. Some high praise for Yanquiel Fernandez in the chat right there. Jeff, what about pitcher FAAB? I thought it was another meager week here. We had the Chase Burns sweepstakes last week, which didn't go well with that first inning on Monday, but he pitched better today, as you were mentioning, the 4 walks, but 7 strikeouts today against the Phillies. I thought that was a positive note at least. Is there anybody you like this week? I really struggled to find pitchers that I wanted this week. There were some names out there, but man, it was tough. Is there anybody you really liked? Because I was having trouble finding them. There was a lot of like, oh, this guy starts twice. Maybe I'll stomach it.
My favorite thing to do was search for a player. Oh, he's taken. Search for a player. Oh, he's taken already. Joe Boyle, he's already gone. 100% owned in the main.
Yeah,
Emmett Sheehan, 100% owned in the main.
What about you, Darvish? There was news came out tonight that he's starting tomorrow.
Yep.
So he has 2 starts this week, and his I think his last rehab outing was a decent amount of pitches, so he could go. I mean, he was someone that was really good last year when he pitched. It was only 8 innings, but 3.31 ERA, 107 WHIP. K-minus walk was like 17%. He was a pretty solid pitcher last year after the rough 2023. How do you feel about Darvish? I had some bids in on him. I was in kind of the 20s in the main event, and he went for a decent amount more than that. But what do you think about Darvish as a guy coming back off the aisle tomorrow?
So I love you, Darvish. I think he's phenomenal. I think I love his interactions on Twitter. I love everything about him. I'm a little scared of what's going to happen to him, but I don't know. Like you said, there weren't too many other good options. Why not?
Yeah. And he was mostly a online 12-teamer. He was taken, I think there were only 2 main events he was picked up in, which one of them was mine. But I think he was taken in most of those. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's someone with some real upside, so it's hard to really know. But yeah, I'm pretty hesitant as well.
Yeah.
Did you like any of these 2-start guys? Joey Cantillo, Sean Burke, Simeon Woods-Richardson. I'm trying to look at other names. Jansen Junk has 2 starts this week. Is there anybody you liked as kind of a 2-star guy? The ones I liked was in the 12-teamers. I think that Nick Martinez and Brady Singer, if they were available, they get Miami and Colorado. I think those are just great matchups.
I picked up Cantillo in one league as a just get rid of Eric Fetty for anybody. Just it doesn't matter who, just get rid of him. I forget who
it was on Twitter, but someone mentioned that. I think it was Matt Thompson mentioned that Eric Fetty is a tough watch right now, and that's a good way to put it. He just seems like he's nibbling a ton right now.
Yeah, you're right. I did get Darvish, by the way, in the online championship. So yeah.
Oh, nice. How much you pay for him?
37 with a second place bid was 24.
That's a good.
I also got a 2-step Andrew Heaney, unopposed, but that includes the start against the Royals. So yeah, why not? Yeah,
Andrew Heaney. That'll be either 2 shutouts or 17 earned runs.
That's going to be a good, no good deed goes unpunished type.
There's really no in between with Andrew Heaney. It's just you know who's like that right now is Jesus Luzardo actually.
Oh,
he's either like
so bad
12 strikeouts and a gem and no earned runs, or it's like 8 earned runs. There's no like 6 innings, 3 earned with Luzardo right now. It's just wild how up and down he is.
You know what? He got Babipped on Friday a little bit by the Reds. He got a little unlucky, but it's the whip is over 1.4. It's just I'm in one league. I'm trying to, and it's a trade league. I'm trying to add some starting pitching. I was like, oh, Luzardo looks interesting.
I saw a note that in that game his Babip was 700.
Yeah, just
like not exaggerating. It actually was 700.
Yeah, and not too many of those were Rockets either.
Cantillo's pretty interesting though. From a strikeout base, I think the walks are going to be a problem, but he gets a lot of swing and miss. He has throughout the minors, even his time in all through the minors like AA, AAA. It's always a swing and strike rate to the double digits. So that's there's some strikeout upside there, but yeah, the at Houston start scares me a little bit. Although they're playing well, but the offense is not quite as scary as that. And they're at the White Sox second start, so it kind of lines up pretty well, but. You just never know with these guys. It's hard, and Cleveland's good with pitchers, so that helps too. But they've done really well by Slade Ciccone, who's been really good too. It's just tough. It's tough to find pitchers right now. We talked about Sean Burke with the White Sox, but man, they face Toronto, which is tough. But Cleveland, which is really good. We mentioned Cleveland's offense is rough right now, so maybe Sean Burke could be okay. He had a couple of blowups a few starts ago. That's been good again. So he's avoided blowups, but. It's just tough. I mean, I couldn't find any guys. Darvish was the one guy that I was bidding on, but that was about it.
Yeah. It was pretty rough all around. I got Trevor Rogers in yogurt. So there was still a league where he's still out there. So
man, did you pick up Trevor Rogers at the right time? He's been great for you.
Yeah, he has. It was really on the basis of one doubleheader start and got sent back down type of start. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see it. Let's try it.
Yeah. You picked him up for that week where he's going to start twice. He only started once, but he threw a gem and then threw two more gems. He's been really good.
He was really good. Gavin Williams is available in my XFL league where we do monthly waiver draft, and it's just a draft. And it didn't get to me, but I thought it was interesting. He's actually been a little slightly better, even with the walks lately. That kind of had me a little interested there. So
yeah, he was great today.
He sure was.
Not as good earlier in the week when he got 4 runs, but that was at Wrigley where a lot of guys have been killed. But he's just up and down too. I mean, it's 0, 4, 3, 0, 2, 3, 0. He's been pretty good overall. You're right. Since the last 8 to 10 starts, he has not. He's definitely turned it around a bit. The strikeouts were really bad before today, though. He had 1, 2, 2 in 3 of his last 4 starts. We had 8 strikeouts today, so it was much better today.
Yeah, I wonder if he was kind of maybe dialing back the stuff just a little bit to throw more strikes. I wonder if that was the case.
He went toe to toe with Skubal today.
Yeah, he sure did.
Some of the chat is asking about Luke Evans. Any thoughts on? It must be Logan Evans, I assume.
I'm assuming it's Logan Evans.
Evans, yeah.
Who's now in for Hayden Birdsong? Not Hayden Birdsong, excuse me.
Emerson Hancock.
Yeah. I got to remember my disappointing pitching prospects. Got to get them straight there. But Evans doesn't strike out a ton yet. But I think there's some interest there. I mean, I think there's at least a chance that he's got some upside. Until Bryce Miller is out, he's going to probably get those turns in the rotation. But guess what? I didn't bid on him because he's facing the Yankees next.
Yeah, I was the same thing. I looked at who he's pitching, and I mean, their pitching staff was so good this weekend. But I looked at it too, and I looked a week ahead, and I'm like, oh, Yankees. I'm not going to start that. So, I just didn't. I didn't do it either. But I think that he had some strikeouts in the minors in 2024 and AA. Since then, AAA and the majors have not been there, but at least he's shown it a little bit. But maybe. But I'm kind of playing start by start, especially in the All-Star week. Sure. And you figure that he probably won't pitch coming out of the All-Star game either, though he won't be one of the first 3 starters in all likelihood for the Mariners. So I figured not be able to use him for 2 weeks was something I couldn't bid on.
Exactly.
There was one interesting reliever to bid on this week, and it's funny because you and I talked about him last week. I picked him up in the main event last week. Is Ronny Henriquez in Miami, and he's benefited from Miami playing really well the last couple of weeks. But he's mixed in a few saves. He had a win the other night. He came in the 8th. It was a tie game, so I didn't really hate that. At least it wasn't a time where they weren't using him as a closer. He's kind of been used as the closer the last couple of weeks. I think in Miami it's always going to be pretty open-ended. But Henriquez has been a good pitcher too, which I think is the best. He's definitely the best arm there. 2.72, 1.16, 33% strikeout rate, only a walk rate under 9%. So it's like a 25% K minus walk so far. 17% swinging strikes. So the strikeouts look legit. I think Henriquez just might be a good pitcher.
I agree. And he's the best reliever we've seen from Miami so far this year. So I actually think there could be 10 more saves coming out of him.
I really hope so. I picked him up last week in yogurt, and I picked him up in the main event in one of my leagues. Although that's the main event that's not very good, but he was very popular this week. He was available in 29 spots, so he was available in almost about more than half the leagues. Lowest win was 43. High win was 155. There are people out there that need saves, no doubt. There were 5 wins over 100. I'm not sure he's locked in, and I don't know if I could have gone that high, but if you need saves, it's the first one we've had on the wire in quite a while here.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it just all the other pitchers in that bullpen are just like, they're not that great.
Yeah, I mean, I had Fauché for a few weeks, and he got a few saves. He had that 1 week with 3 saves, but I watched him pitch a couple times. I'm like, yeah, this is not the thing right here.
Yeah.
Did you read it into Jordan Hicks pitching the 9th tonight for the Red Sox, or yes, this afternoon for the Red Sox? Chapman pitched the 8th. He did pitch I think he pitched face 3, 4, 5 for the Nats. So it was probably a matchup thing, but it was a little bit of sign that Hicks is maybe the next in line there. He did give up a run. He had to give up a walk and a hit against the Nationals. So he gave up 1 run, but did get the save. The thoughts of them if they follow the race, trading Chapman. Any interest in Jordan Hicks moving back towards the back end of the bullpen where he used to live in St. Louis before he started with the Giants?
I think it'll be like a pure timeshare thing, even if Chapman gets dealt. And I think this was just he's facing James Wood. Okay, Chapman, you're in.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, so I wouldn't read too much into it there.
There were a couple of interesting high-level pitcher bids in the main event. Someone mentioned one of them in the chat, but Zac Gallen and Sean Manaea were both available in one league. Manaea went for 189. Gallen went for 206. Someone who is
good luck.
Really struggled. I knew you were going to love that, but that's. But it's Zac Gallen. I get why someone would go aggressive after him. You hope he figures it out, but it's been rough so far. But I thought that was interesting that he did get dropped in the main event.
I do think it's funny though that he got dropped and then had his first good outing in a month, 2 months.
It is so the way it works. Cade Horton did that with the Cubs. I dropped him in a 12-teamer, and he boom, really good start this week.
It was against the slumping Guardians. That's why.
It's
but
true. Victor Scott was dropped in one league too. He went for $89. That's I guess if you need steals, but man, he can't hit.
Can't. Hey, we haven't mentioned Brandon Woodruff yet.
Oh, talk about an outing.
Yeah, welcome back.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
He went 6 innings, 8 strikeouts, right?
Yeah, he was really good. After so many false starts in his rehab assignment, to be able to turn around and do that, wow, pretty impressive stuff against a team in the Marlins that has been hitting pretty well lately. Yeah. So I wouldn't say, it's the Marlins, we'll discount it. It's not like the Guardians. No, it's someone that actually kind of say, hey, he did a good job against this a lineup that's been pretty productive lately.
He got through 6 innings and 70 pitches. Super efficient too, even with the strikeouts. No walks, 2 hits, 1 earned run. I hope it stays because when Brandon Woodruff's good, it's fun. But I want to see a few more starts. But yeah, if you've held on to him or picked him up at some point, that was certainly a great start for that idea.
His outing made me give up on Logan Henderson. I just don't think Henderson's going to make a meaningful impact this year.
Because they sent Patrick down, right?
Yep.
So if they need someone, the thought was maybe it's Patrick first, which really makes Henderson 7 instead of 6.
Exactly. And I think that you look at, I don't know why they want to treat Henderson that way, but clearly they do. They're finding any way to not get him in the rotation, call him up. And keep in mind, they still have coming back from IL, former Yankee, Nestor Cortez.
Is he coming? Is he going to come back?
Not soon, but he's on his rehab assignment.
Someone asked about, do you know how Woodruff's velocity was? I'm looking.
I did not get a chance to see that yet.
I'm looking here. Let's see.
You can see that on Balt.
Highest pitch was 95.7, but kind of sat in the 93, 94, 95 range.
Yeah.
It was hard. Edward Cabrera and McGill and Uribe pitching that game, so I had to scroll down a little bit to get to Woodruff. There's a lot of dudes throwing gas in that game, but yeah, it's 94, 95. I think that's pretty solid first downing from Woodruff right there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so that was really good to see. You like to see guys that come back hard. I'm looking at 2023 average velocity was 95.8, 2022 96.3, so off a little bit from that, but not off far from that as well.
No, not too bad.
Yeah, so. Anything else you got? Anybody else you want to talk about? I feel like we kind of hit everybody. There wasn't a ton of FAAB, so I kind of focused on some other stuff this week. But there were a couple of interesting names. But for the most part, it was Ronny Henriquez if he was available, Darvish is available, and then some hitting pieces, some Ha-Seong Kim. But I feel like it was a week. A lot of people were adding like $8 to $10 players to kind of fill some spots for a week before the All-Star game.
Exactly. I that's how I felt as well. I think it was. No, I'm good. I think there was a fun week in baseball. Looking forward to seeing a little bit more before the All-Star break. Looking for the break as well. We will not be podcasting next Sunday night as we honor the All-Star break and honor ourselves. But then we'll be back at it the following week.
That's it's good. It's been a lot of weeks in a row, so that would be a nice break right there.
Indeed.
But then and then we'll talk about. We'll have a few games to talk about, and then obviously the full second half to hit the ground running after that. So it's should be really fun. As always, good chatting with you. Good to chat with everybody in the chat. That was really good stuff there. If anybody has any questions, you can hit up Jeff on Twitter. He's a Jeff_Erickson there. Feel free to ask him as many questions you want there. We got football starting up too, so there's gonna be a lot going on Twitter. But we'll be focused on baseball the rest of the way here. Hope everyone's a really good week, a good fantasy week, and take care.